Hi, my name's Julie, and I'm going to be reading queer books for Pride Month. Normally, when I do reading vlogs, I do some sort of experiment of picking books because of X, or what can we learn about books that have this. And this month, I didn't actually really have strong plans about what I was going to read. I had a couple of obligations, but mostly was open. So I just decided to pick up a bunch of random queer books off of my shelf in my library. So this is going to be a very casual vlog, no lessons learned, just reading some fun queer books in a bunch of different genres. So I'm just going to tell you about the queer books I have rounded up here, and we'll see what I pick up. We have The Water Outlaws by S.L. Huang. This is a fantasy, I think this is standalone, and this is inspired by the Chinese classic novel The Water Margin, and inspired by wuxia, which is martial arts inspired fiction. And one of my very good friends on Instagram recommended this to me. This is, first of all, my favorite color. Our main character is Lin Chong, and she is a master of arms for the emperor. And when a higher up tries to assault her, she doesn't accept it and ends up getting disgraced for it. So she is going to try to take back her glory. Then I've got, no, he fell. Stay. Then I've got Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake. This is the third and final book in the Bright Falls series of standalone romances, and this is about Iris, who is kind of sick of love. And Iris is also a romance author, so being disenchanted with love really isn't helping her. She ends up getting cast in a queer retelling of Much Ado About Nothing and has to fake date her co-star. I love Shakespeare. I'm not sure I would have picked up this specific synopsis were it not Ashley Herring Blake and this series, which I've given 4 stars and 5 stars respectively, but I have high hopes because I trust her. I know that this has sapphic representation, obviously, but I don't know what specifically, so we'll find out. And I've got I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast Is Me by Jamison Shea, which when I saw this title for the first time, I knew I was going to read this because, wow, love a weird title, love a long title, especially when it comes to horror. And this is a horror about our main character who is a ballet student in Paris and has always been overlooked and is going to be taking her spot. Sounds like Black Swan to me, which is one of my favorite movies. I believe this book has bisexual representation, and then the author is non-binary. Then I also picked up the audiobook of Less. This is about a writer who has been failing to write and got an invitation to the wedding of his ex. I know that this has won a ton of awards. This is like a literary darling. I think that this could be a quick audio to get through. So yesterday I did start The Water Outlaws, and I went to trivia night like I do every week with my friends from work. We got second place, even though our name was last place. Today at work, I had a little bit of a longer lunch, so I got to go to a pretty park near me and start this. The first scene of this is like a grown-up lesson number 1 from Mulan 2. I don't know if anybody else watched that movie, but my sister and I were obsessed with that movie as kids, where she's just like showing off how knowledgeable she is in her field to somebody who thinks that they have a magical advantage, which I thought was pretty cool. I didn't know that this was going to be multi-perspective, and we've already jumped around a couple of her friends, and I'm liking that. I'm hoping to get to a little bit past the 1/4 mark tonight. But first, I am going to be having dinner. I'm gonna make some fajitas, and I got a couple things to do around the house. So I did not read more of The Water Outlaws since yesterday. Last night I left reading until right before bed, and then I got 2 phone calls right before bed, and I just had to go to sleep. So very little reading has been done physically, but I did read over 50% of Less. So now I can tell you more about what this is about. So this is about Arthur Less, who is a writer who is going on 50, and he is struggling. He went from dating much older men to a much younger man who he stayed with for 9 years, even though knowing that the relationship was doomed because of that age gap and how that had happened to him in the past. These guys break up. Not very long after, Les gets a wedding invitation in the mail to his ex's wedding, and he panics and decides that he is going to travel around the world. Whatever meager writing things that he can go to, he doesn't have that big of a career. He is not getting his next novel sold. Overall, having a midlife crisis. So I've gotten 50% of the way through this book. Nothing has really surprised me past like synopsis content because I did not know a lot going into this. I didn't know what kind of guy Arthur was, but now we've gotten into it. I do think we have a very good idea of who he is. It is written very tongue-in-cheek. It's trying to be funny in the way that it talks about the situations that he's in, and I do think it does succeed on that part. It also does a lot of flashing back and forth between the present and the past, and I think that has been done very well. I usually like that sort of structure. And I think this is a pretty typical character decides to throw everything away and do something impulsive type of book. I have the entire afternoon and evening free. I'm feeling pretty tired. Maybe I'll take a nap. Maybe I'll play some video games and get through more of less. Maybe I'll just hang out on my porch or and read a little bit, but I think I might have to take a nap first. Oh yeah, but what I've mainly been doing today is I have been doing book content. It has been book content day because suddenly I am inspired. I have been posting stuff for my book club. We are going to be reading Rogues this quarter, so I am currently teasing what the next two books are, but it'll be out by the time that this video is published, and those are The Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch and The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. So if you want to read those with us, please go to the Discord, go to the Instagram, and help us choose what our third book is going to be. I have been working on Friendathon. I have just realized that I haven't even thought about Friendathon, which I have run for the last 3 summers, and this is a readathon inspired by reading like your friends. So you pick a friend or friends and you read books that are based on their taste. So it's a good way to connect with people, especially your online friends that you interact with their content all the time, but maybe you haven't gotten around to their favorite book yet. It's not a really flashy readathon like Freezathon was. I have suddenly had a lot of ideas for prompts. I need to come up with a total of 5 prompts because the last 2 prompts are always the same. The idea is that there are 7 prompts and you are going to try to complete as many of them as you can in 10 days. It's 10 days so that you have 2 separate weekends to read. Instead of just limiting it to a 1-week readathon, I think that format actually works really well, and I think more people should use it. And because I've been just so in the mood for making content, there are a bunch of different graphic Instagram things that I've been wanting to make. I want to make a post explaining different types of fantasy and what different things mean. When someone says high versus low fantasy, what does that mean, and how is that different from hard or soft magic? What's epic fantasy? What's grimdark? What's this thing over there? So I've been wanting to make that post. I've been wanting to make a post about how to write a review. And then on top of that, I also need to pick out what my next themed reading vlog is going to be. That's like my least watched content, but it's my favorite content to make and watch, so I'm still making it. I have 2 different 5-star finders things that I can do. I might end up doing both ideas, but I want to maybe film me finding out about the books. So I have been very busy mentally with reading because I just wanted to make all this book content, but I haven't been reading. Oops, vicious cycle. Let's get to doing stuff. So I have gotten almost to the halfway point of the Water Outlaws. What am I thinking? This is most reminding me of probably He Who Drowned the World, specifically that one and not the first book, just in how we're like constantly jumping between different perspectives of people who are all entwined in different sides of a conflict, and also being in a Chinese-inspired fantasy, of course. When I have been able to pay attention for more than 5 minutes because I haven't been distracted by something else, I have been able to sit down and read it for a good amount of time. So this has been really cool so far. So basically, Lin Chang, she's mostly the main character, and she was the weapons master and everything for the emperor. But when a higher up tries to assault her, she doesn't like that. He tricks her into getting executed, and she ends up being broken out and taken to this band of outlaws. When she's there, she kind of rediscovers that she is a person who can channel this specific type of magic where you have this object called a god's tooth that will basically open you up to this specific type of martial arts magic. And she is really struggling with grappling with that. She's kind of scared of herself. And also she's being introduced to all of these people who are the outlaws, who a lot of them seem super nice and are really accepting of her. However, they are wanting her to compromise on her values. They are wanting to, be bandits and everything. And she wants to be a part of a group that is different from the one that she has been spurned by, but she still has these loyalties to the people who spurned her. And some of those people who are still following the empire are innocent. And these outlaws are saying, well, they're part of the empire, so they are complicit in evil. The other main character is her friend Lu Jinyi, and she has been forcibly given the position as the emperor's head of laboratory. And they are trying to find a way to make a synthetic version of all of those magical artifacts. And she kind of doesn't have a choice but do it, but she's also really good at her job and wants to find out more about the science. I wouldn't say I'm particularly emotionally invested in the characters, but I am very invested in the plot. I got a little bit more through less. There was very recently a conversation about him being a bad gay, which reminded me of Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, because that book talks about how a lot of people in the Asian community critique Athena for writing books about Asian people like suffering or not being great people. In Less, Arthur Less is being critiqued by someone for being a bad gay because all he does is write about sad gays. I think that's a really interesting conversation. Every person is complicated and has a lot of different parts of their life, and those authors, fictionally, but it applies to real life, felt like they wanted to tell that story and that it was an important part of their experience to talk about not being happy. And people are like, well, you're representing us poorly. No one person is supposed to represent every single person of a single identity. I hope that conversation comes up a little bit more because I was liking it. I had an espresso drink this morning and I should not have. I know that I cannot handle caffeine anymore, and I decided to do it anyway because I thought it was made with coffee. It was not. So I have had this thing where my heart beats out of my chest for 12 hours after drinking the coffee. And I've just been trying to make that go away. So I've been trying to drink a lot of water, calm myself down. So this is how I'm going to be doing that. But I definitely need to knock out more of this before I go to game night tonight. And I'm very excited. I am hoping that we will get around to the game that I got for my birthday, and that's Flamecraft. I fucking adore this game. You play as a person who can interact with dragons, and the dragons help grow your town and make shops better. And it's just a resource management game. It has the multiplayer modes and the solo mode, so I've been playing the solo mode a lot. It's seriously just the most adorable game I've ever played, but it also has a good amount of compelling strategy to it. I also spent hours today working on new content. I think because of the caffeine, I hyperfixated on a specific video idea that I had at the beginning of the year and completely forgot about until this week, and I think I'm gonna try to make it happen in July. But yeah, see you in a bit. I have gotten to 300 pages out of almost 500 of the Water Outlaws, and I finished less. He's globe-trotting, he's trying to run away from his problems, he's trying to find a solution to his feelings that doesn't involve love. He's so down on himself. He at once sees himself as a hero and also a tragic character, when ultimately he's just kind of silly. He's a good protagonist, he gets a good message. Good, I'll probably give it something like a 3. I wasn't super invested, I wasn't super laughing out loud, but it was good. Water Outlaws, girly, why can I not read more than 2 pages in one setting? Yeah, something kind of devastating just happened, and now it's okay, revenge time, and I am really curious to see where this goes. So I'm at a point where it's going to start going into spoiler territory if I talk much more, but still having a good time. Just started playing Animal Crossing, which is ironic because I own the Animal Crossing Switch. But I had played on my sister's Switch and played on her island as my own person, and I didn't know until now that I could play with my sister's account on my Switch and have a whole new island. So I have 30 pages left of this, and I am determined to read it all before doing anything else. So I'm gonna do nothing but read. So I am not allowed to leave this couch until I finish this book. Okay, I did it. I think this is a solid fantasy. I think this is a very solid debut as well. I really liked the plot of this, but I really liked a lot of the action. You can tell that she's a stunt performer. She knows a lot about combat. I really liked the magic. Probably most of all was just a cool hard magic system that we got. I think that this says a lot about how even when people are fighting for good, there are still bad things that they do. There's not just a good guy who only does good things. I don't know if I talked about the queer representation in this. While we have multiple queer characters, the people's identities are not as important as them coming together as a whole. People of any identity should be able to have stories in which the identity is centered and stories where the identity is not centered. I think that's really important to have representation on both sides of that spectrum. But one of our main characters, Lu Junyi, the one who's in the lab, she is in a sapphic relationship, and also there are multiple characters who are 16 wins, which is a name for a type of gender fluidity. I think that this definitely should be read by more people, especially if you're fans of poppy war type stuff. But I also thought that this ended on a really hopeful note, which I liked. I will say I liked the plot more than I cared about the characters. I don't think that this was particularly strong in that department, at least in my personal opinion. I don't think that was helped by me totally getting characters mixed up and having to refer to the dramatis personae all the time. But I'm very glad that that list was there, because there were 4 different important characters whose family names started with an L, that sort of thing. Lots of people whose names are 1 letter off from another person, but you get it eventually. Personally, Lu Junyi was my favorite character, who's the one who works in the lab, and Lu Da was probably my least favorite. I know that she's supposed to be a younger character, but her immaturity kind of got on my nerves a little bit. Going to be giving it a 4. Definitely would recommend to other people, and I am ready to start some new stuff. What have I been up to? Yesterday I didn't vlog at all because it was Father's Day, and I spent the day with my dad and my sister. We went to an escape room, which I didn't film because I feel like it's wrong to film in an escape room. I've only done 2 escape rooms, and they're both the same place in my new town. This one, while it was better themed, I don't think it was good as the other one that I've done, just in terms of lack of diversity in puzzles, and there were some mechanical failures, but we still had fun. I made dinner for everybody. We played Flamecraft again. I keep playing Flamecraft with everybody. A lot of this week has kind of cleared up for me, so I don't think it'll be hard for me to finish up. Tonight, I am just going to be chilling by myself. Season finale of Game Changer should be coming out tonight. I'm so excited. I'm gonna eat some Alfredo, and I'm gonna play some Animal Crossing, and we're gonna have a good time. I cannot believe it is time for trivia again, which I started the vlog with. So I was reading the Water Outlaws for almost a week, but I have gotten to the 60-page mark of I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast is Me, and I'm already eating this up. 100% Black Swan vibes, but Black Swan, but like with a little bit more of like a demonic twist, which I did not realize until like picking this up yesterday. This has a giant skull in the background. There's a reflection, so I don't know if you can see it, but like, oh my god. Our main character, Lore, is black and comes from not a whole lot, but she just graduated from Paris's ballet academy, and she was the top person in all of her classes. She got the lead, she did incredible, she did perfect, but the people of the Paris Ballet Company still don't want her because she doesn't fit the culture, she doesn't have the right look, she's black, and they don't want to have social politics be put into their shows and have people think about inequality. Oh my god, the composure she had there to just say nothing. She's already obsessive about her ability, but it's the last straw that being perfect literally isn't enough. So she ends up meeting up with this prima ballerina, essentially of the Paris company, and she's like, well, how do you do it? How are you so good? There's all these rumors that this girl has like made deals with the devil. She did witchcraft and everything to get the spot that she has, that she deserves. And it turns out that's totally true, and she did make a deal, and she's going to help Lore do the same thing. I love a woman getting what she deserves through horror-y magic. I'm already really liking it. I just have not had any time to read. So I'm gonna get back from trivia and go straight back to reading. So I just made a $300 mistake. You saw me, I just went kayaking with my friends. I haven't been kayaking in years, so it was really fun to go back. But within an hour, I dropped my phone in the water. I knew I should have put it in the dry bag, and I didn't. It took us a long time, but we ended up finding it, so it was probably only in the water for 15 minutes. It turned on when we picked it up, and then we were like, okay, great, it's gonna be fine. Maybe a new SIM card. I might be okay. But also, not only that, I flipped my boat trying to get my phone. So everything that was in my bag got into the water, including my library book. Why did you have a library book, you're asking? Because they were going to do fishing stuff. One of the ideas was like taking the kayaks somewhere and like chilling out on a beach. I have never damaged a library book before. I will definitely have to pay the library for that. By the time I got home, my phone was not turning on. It wasn't responding to anything. I couldn't charge it. Tried charging it to my laptop, and my laptop didn't even like recognize it. I went to like a Batteries Plus that like also does repair, and the guy was like, we don't do that here. You could try this one place. But I didn't have directions on me, so I couldn't find it, and it turns out it was closed anyway. And he was like, that's the only place around here that would do water damage. So I start freaking out. I find the only place that in town that is still open, which is like not an official place at all. And the guy immediately was like, calm down, I got this. And I had to replace my battery and my screen and the charging port, and it was $300. I really hope that it still is going to work. I took the SIM card out because it wasn't working. In the past, just letting the SIM card sit overnight has worked. So my phone still works with Wi-Fi now, which is fine. If not, I know a SIM card is only like $20. The main thing is that my phone was revived because I don't have it backed up a lot. I had fun kayaking, but me making that one stupid mistake caused me to cut out both of my feet, and I'm just really freaking hoping that I cleaned them good enough. And we lost the map that the kayak guy gave us, so I had to pay for that. I had to pay $300 to fix my phone and do the library book. So this is going to be an over $300 mistake. I am just so glad that I was able to save my phone. Like, I don't care if this guy ripped me off as long as I have a working phone. It looks like my Face ID isn't working. The phone immediately recognized that they weren't Apple official parts, so I don't know if that is going to affect the phone, but I can just start saving up for a new phone. It's not going to be that much of a financial burden to get a new thing, but I just wasn't planning on getting a new one anytime soon.
Honestly, I have too much of my stuff on my phone for it to be backed up automatically to the cloud. I really need to start backing up my stuff. Because I had to do waiting, I got to read. But because I messed up my library book, I started reading Iris Kelly Doesn't Date, and I got to 130 pages. I have a little bit of a better idea of the synopsis than earlier. Iris is someone who hasn't had a serious relationship in a while. She was dating this guy for 3 years. They wanted different things and they broke up, and her family is still giving her shit about it. And she's kind of just like sworn off, that sort of thing. And she's a romance author. She's struggling to write even the beginning of her second book. When her family like insults her again about her ex-boyfriend, she decides to go to a bar and hook up with somebody. And our other main character is Stevie, and she's an actress, and her girlfriend of 6 years left her and is dating somebody else in their friend group now. So both of these main characters are struggling with everybody in their life being in relationships and honestly being really fucking obnoxious about it and like all in your face, like I'm in a relationship. Just had my 2-year anniversary with my boyfriend. If any one of my friends acted the way that these people did, I would not hang out with you anymore. Stevie's ex runs a queer theater in Portland. It might go under. And the ex asks Stevie, will you be our lead? You might be able to draw people to our theater again and try to save us. And she feels like she can't say no. They go to the same gay bar. They are gonna start to hook up, and Stevie's anxiety gets so bad that she throws up. And I'm sure there's gonna be some miscommunication there about it being about her anxiety versus not liking Iris. Iris, to give her a creative break, get back to her romance book, decides to audition for the play. She ends up getting a lead. Stevie has lied to her friends and said she's dating her, and now they are gonna fake date. Iris so she can get stuff for her novel, Stevie so she can keep up the lie. Fake dating is not my favorite anymore. I think there were several that worked for me like in a row, but now I think it is so overdone. But this is reminding me of the Alexandria Bellefleur book. I think I gave it like a 3. I liked it. I'm gonna freaking blow dry a book. I'm gonna have a bottle of wine, not the whole thing, but a lot of it, feed myself and watch TV until I kind of calm down. I don't know, I'm really stressed out, but at least I'm getting along with this book okay. I think that their dynamic is going to be really good, and I can't wait to see more about the play that they're doing is Much Ado About Nothing, which I love that show. So what a day.
Hey, thought I'd give a quick update. So as for the state of my phone, it does need to be replaced. Took it to the store and they said that the antenna is broken. So I'm basically just gonna need a new phone. Luckily, I can still get a trade-in even though this phone is damaged. And it looks like my trade-in isn't that great, but the damage does not seem to have affected the trade-in, which couldn't have asked for better for that. I really thought that they were going to be like, no, fuck you. I'm probably going to get a new phone tomorrow. Let me show you the state of I Feed Her to the Beast. If you guys remember what she looked like beforehand, we've got a lot of water going on. Look, it actually doesn't look too bad, but once you open it, you can see the, do you see how, like, hear that? I pressed this under my laptop and a bunch of books yesterday to try to keep it as flat as possible. I am going to try drying this as much as physically possible today. So hopefully I can read out of this copy. If not, I'm gonna have to like buy an ebook. Because I actually do want to finish it. I'm really liking it. But after making this giant mistake with my phone, I do not want to spend any more money. Obviously I have to pay to replace the book, but like, for me to read the book, I'm probably just gonna read out of this damn fucking copy. But I got to page 200 of Iris Kelly Doesn't Date, and honestly, I'm really liking it. Something about Ashley Herring Blake's writing style I really get along with, even when I'm not in love with the plot as much, which isn't to say this. I don't think either of her third acts have been my favorite, but I still eat these up like nothing else. And the thing that's A fun development between the two of them is that they've realized that Stevie is good at romantic relationships but not sexual relationships because her anxiety gets in the way of her wanting to act on her desire. And Iris is good at sexual relationships but not good at romantic relationships because she keeps trying to shy away from it. And I did also really like that they had a conversation about if Stevie was demisexual or not. The Shakespeare of it all hasn't really started yet. There have been a couple of scenes so far of them like making out and like trying to teach each other how to do romantic sexual relationships, and I've really liked them all so far. Unfortunately, like, because this is fake dating, this is going to have a little bit of miscommunication, but I am hopeful that it is going to resolve itself in a good way, especially because I've been so sick of fake dating lately. I have been so sick of a lot of romance tropes lately and like the tropification. Obviously, romance, for it to work, has to adhere to certain rules for the general public to actually get on board with a relationship, because we as a society have certain ideas of how things should look, whether they're right or wrong. I'm so tired of like every single romance book I see on Instagram has to have a bunch of arrows pointing to it with a bunch of tropes on it, and I don't know. I've been sick of fantasy romance. I've been avoiding it like the plague because everything I've read has been so redundant. I have gotten tired of fake dating because I've read too many of them, and there were a couple of fake datings that really worked and then people just decided to copy and paste it. I think this one is a little bit different because not both people are lying. It's a little bit more the lessons type. I said it was going to be a quick update and then it wasn't quick. I'm definitely going to finish this tomorrow. I don't know how much more I'll read tonight. I'm gonna go make dinner. I played a little bit of Animal Crossing already. I don't have anything else planned for tonight except making dinner, so I could knock out a good chunk of that and try drying my book. Painful. It's painful. Apologies if the lighting is bad, but I have finished Iris Kelly Doesn't Date. And you know what? I love this book. I love this book. At the beginning, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna feel it. There were a couple of like off things, like I mentioned, like how all of the other couple characters were really annoying, and I wasn't really sure about where the plot was going, but I have not a complaint. I think this could have been a little bit longer. I could have gone with 50 more pages. Maybe we could have seen another scene with Iris's family or Stevie's friends or more of the Shakespeare. I do think her previous books definitely have like a setting as part of the synopsis, and then they don't really touch that setting as much as you think they do. Like the first book is about a wedding, and then the wedding isn't even that much of the book because Iris is a romance author, which, how important was that actually to the plot? Nah. She mentions third act conflicts explicitly. She talks about how, oh, there's been is it a third act breakup or a third act conflict? She's like, yeah, I've read some books without it, but I prefer books that have it. So of course there's a third act breakup in this book like the other two have had. This is the one that made the most sense to me, and I think also was resolved in the best way. I really liked how the fake dating shifted into real dating, and I thought that this conflict that they have actually makes sense with their personality types. They're both very avoidant in relationships. The two of them don't want to cause conflict and run away from conflict as much as they can. I just really, really enjoyed this. I also like the steamy scenes. The steamy scenes were good. I guess that's what we're here for, but I really cared about these two. I really wanted them to be together. If I didn't mention already, Iris is bisexual and Stevie is lesbian. I don't know if I like this more than Astrid Parker. I'm so sad to see these characters go and this series go. It was nice seeing a finale of all four of the friends. Also, very weird thing, both this book and I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast Is Me mention a character smelling like orange blossoms, which is very specific, but I don't know, I really, really enjoyed this. Is it a 5-star? Potentially. It's potentially a 5-star. I'll have to think about it, see how much it stays with me. Little update on the phone problem. I did purchase a new phone. I went to 2 different Verizon stores and they each told me I could only get $200 back for my phone. And then I talked to somebody online on the Verizon website and they said I could get $400 for a 13, a 14, or a 14 Plus. And I was like, you know what? The phone's damaged, that's fine. And then I talked to somebody different today on chat. They're doing a promotion right now that if you turn in your phone, you get a credit for the price of the cheapest iPhone 15. They did that. I checked with multiple people, explained in detail the amount of damage on the phone, and they said, it's fine, you can turn it in and get the full credit, you're fine. And I'm like, oh my God, that is so much better than I thought. I thought that this was going to be an over $1,000 accident. Totaling it up, it does not look like I'm going to reach $500. I could afford to get a new phone, I could afford this mistake happening, but like a $500 difference is so much. I just have to wait for my iCloud to actually back up all of my photos. I have been invited to my friends today. I was already planning on seeing the group of them tomorrow at a festival downtown. And I've had a really stressful day. I need to feed myself, so I might go, or I might just have to skip for my brain. But I'm gonna make some sog. Very excited. That has been a new staple for me. And also, if I have time and I don't go, I'll start back up with I Feed Her to the Beast. It is physically possible for me to read out of this copy. It is drying, but way slower than I thought. And I think that's really funny because I once had a person leave one of my favorite books in the rain, and it was a very special edition. That book was solid. It was hard when they gave it to me. So now I know that they sat on that for a long time without telling me. So I don't know how I feel about that. Definitely by the next video that I do, I will have a new phone, and maybe you'll be seeing me in even more HD.
So I had a long day. Yesterday I did end up going to my friends, stayed over for like 3 hours or something like that. It was a good time. We had fun. Today, the same group of friends, we were going to a festival that was happening downtown to see one of my friends perform an aerial, which you saw. She did a great job. It was actually the first time I got to see her, so that was nice. People had been planning to go to a river beach nearby, and I was like, I've got stuff to do. I've had a very stressful week. I'm just gonna stay home. And then people were like, oh, well, we don't really want to go to the beach because it's like, we're not gonna be able to swim there. And I was like, I have a pool. And so people came over to my house. We went to the pool, we watched Game Changer, played Flamecraft. People liked Flamecraft so much they wanted to play it a second time, which was fun and a good time. It was just a spontaneous plan that took up 10 hours of my day instead of 2 to 3 hours of my day. I did end up reading a good amount of I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast is Me. I did mention in previous clips that I was blow drying it, and I have since learned how to take care of a book. The University of Michigan actually has a PDF that's like how to take care of a waterlogged book. So this is what I'm doing right now because it's a damp book. So I'm just letting it sit out. I'm trying to keep the spine's integrity as much as possible because that was kind of damaged, so I've had to put some supports in there to keep the spine all together. But I got to over the 50% mark. I have completed part 2 of 4. I didn't know exactly what type of horror it was gonna be, but I'm really enjoying it. I really love Jameson Shea's descriptions. It'll just be like a normal monologue, and then there will be like just something gross thrown in there for as like a metaphor or something. And it just really adds to the atmosphere. I think this book might be at a little bit of a disadvantage because I, had to take a break from it from several days, so I'm not as in it as I was. But I have like 160 pages left, so I'm going to try to finish it tomorrow. I don't have a full day's worth of stuff to do, so I should be able to spend a good amount of time. Maybe I'll go to the pool again, who knows. I really like our main character. I love the type of horror she's running into. I like how much of like real world versus not real world it is. I don't know how much I want to say like spoiler-wise about this book. She makes a deal with this entity and in return she gets powers. And there are other people like Josephine, the star who showed her it, who have made deals, and they have different abilities based on whatever deals they made. I think it's been really interesting how we have interacted with that so far. Yes, it is 1 a.m. and I am exhausted, so I am going to go to bed. It's late and I have work tomorrow, but I did finish I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast is Me. Look at how this copy looks now and go to the beginning of this video and see what it looked like. Done as much damage control on this as I can, and we'll see if it's enough. I did quite like this one. Would I have liked it that much more if I hadn't had a break in reading it? Possibly. I love stories about obsession, and I thought that this was a really solid one because this is just about a character who loves something and obsesses over something so much that will never love her back. I really liked the plot that she had with Coralie. That was my favorite part of the book. There was a lot of discussions about how people with privilege believe that when people who are not privileged get something that the privileged person wants, that it's a handout and not because the person deserves it. I thought that the horror element was cool, and I liked that it was less of a creature horror that I thought it could be, because creature horror is not my favorite. And I know that the second book that is being released, it does appear to be a direct sequel to this, which I don't know if I would pick up just because I kind of felt like this left in a good place. I do think I was more invested in the front half than the back half, and I think that's kind of par for the course with horror for me. As far as representation goes, our main character is bisexual. She has an ex-girlfriend who shows up in a couple different scenes, and there is a male love interest during the book. Didn't super care about the romance. I was way more invested in her obsession plots. I cared more about her finding people who cared about her than specifically a romance, if that makes sense. I definitely will look forward to more from Jameson Shea. Not sure if I'll pick up the sequel, but yeah. So those are 4 queer books that I read recently. Let me know what stuff you've been picking up lately, and if you've read any of these books, let me know what your thoughts were. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to follow me anywhere, you can find me everywhere at the link in the description. And as always, I will see you in the next one.